Good day, wherever you are, and whatever time it is you're looking at this. I'm your host and moderator, Chandra Jagger, and I'm going to be talking about some of the historical background to the current unwelcome situation on planet Earth. I'm going to wear dark glasses because I'm losing my eyesight after 11 years of staring at the computer screen and 50 years of reading thick books before that. There's a Chinese fortune-telling book called the I Ching, and in there I found this phrase. It said, mankind is born into a pre-ponent, which means powerful before you got there, situation. Most people live within that without questioning it, and those who question it generally want to either fix it or get out, because it's slavery on many different levels. Behind that is cycles of time that happen to planet Earth, and there is a group of families or beings who know about the cycles, and some of them are 10,000 years long, so they have to hold this knowledge in the family for 10,000 years and use it to be in control and get the wealth for themselves, have an easy life. Some of the cycles are, there's a war every 80 years on this planet. There's a small climate disaster every 400 years, which usually precipitates a change of religion or government. And 2 of those would be 800 years divided by the 80 years will give you 10 times within that period. Every 1,000 years there's a catastrophic planetary alignment of the 4 outer gas giants, causing the end of civilization worldwide. And every 2,000 years there's something like the Great Flood, or the arrival of Jesus Christ, for example. Currently we're heading towards a conjunction of a 2,000-year cycle with the 10,000-year cycle, which will breed something that will look like end times, which will be earthquakes, volcanism, extreme bad weather, lightning storms, plagues, either viral plagues and or vermin, mice, locusts. And a lot of people will die. And from my search and opinion, this will be exacerbated by the people who babysit. This is the Great Reset. And this time around, they're happy because they got electronics, computers, surveillance, and atomic weapons, and everything. This has all happened before, and will happen again, as was said in Battlestar Galactica. And it looks like people have been on this planet for over 70 million years, and you say, well, where's the proof? The proof was eradicated by multiple ice ages. Although there are clues here and there. Before the advent, pun intended, of Jesus of Nazareth and his philosophy, which came out of India, the Vedas, we had barbarism, and we had empire after empire after empire, people wanting to be kings, and rule and tax. And I think this is unfortunately insanity in one man that gets manifested and brought out on an entire public or several publics. There's a poem called Ozymandias by a famous British writer, and someone finds a huge statue's head lying half buried in the sand, and the caption on the statue's headband is, "My name is Ozymandias, look upon my works and despair." Well, he's gone. And all the mayhem and pain caused by him so he can have an empire is left as a wound on the spirits of the people who are here. So at the introduction to the West of Eastern philosophy, in the middle of the Middle East at that time, answers the question posed in Jesus Christ Superstar, why did you come toward us in such a backward place and time? Is because that was where it was necessary to ping the house of cards to bring it all down. And that philosophy, although it was banned and it was a death sentence to have any of it, it was buried in jars and hidden in caves and dispensed in secret for a long time. Spread up into Europe and Holy Russia, which at one time was completely conquered by the Muslims. You can look that up. And in modern days, England, the British Empire, Canada, USA, most of South America is Christian-ish. And this philosophy was up against the Roman Empire, which was a very organized, probably the most organized of the conquering nations. They had the best war machine, and they also used hard work. Soldiers were also engineers and workers and craftsmen, and say if you ran across the river to get away from the Romans, they would spend a month building a bridge and then come over and kill you instead of letting the river stop them. And there are many instances of Roman engineering winning battles, and they managed to conquer all of northern Africa, most of the Middle East, Persia, Greece, France, Germany. If we're Romanizing it, hence we have the Romance languages, which I'm speaking right now. The Roman Empire eventually became the Holy Roman Empire, which eventually became the Vatican. And the stupendous wealth of the Vatican is the leftover wealth from the Roman empires, early and late, about 1,500 years in total, taxing everyone all the way around the Mediterranean. And at some point, the Romans realized it was cheaper to keep control of Europe with religion rather than war. And that's where we are now. Now, the philosophy of Christianity threw a monkey wrench into barbarism and empires. and has been making it difficult for them for the last 2,000 years, which is why now they're determined to eradicate as much Christianity as possible, because they're going to do a second wave after the reset to return to empire and barbarism. Kings, my DNA is superior to your DNA, I'm a king, you're not. And these pesky Christian ideas have to go. Jesus apparently said, I will be with you to the end of the age. That word has been deliberately translated as time. I will be with you to the end of time. But the actual translation in the Greek Bible is still written on sheepskin and still extant. It says, I'll be with you to the end of the age, and look for another person to come in the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, which is disturbing news for those who want to do the Great Reset. They plan on putting in the Antichrist, which is someone who will be disguised as the water bearer. And that's happening now. It's 2022. AD, which means the year of our Lord, which is how important is this guy? We're counting our calendar from his birthday. We have before BC, before Christ or before Christianity, and AD after the birth, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. It's not thought about too much. So we're looking towards a reset where kings and superior DNA people are in charge of us mere peons. Now, the area I'm in, I've been attacked for speaking like this, and it turns out who it was the black nobility. I actually live in the Royal City, which is just down the street from the Emerald City. The people who were kings and queens and emperors when they got deposed still want to be and think they are kings and queens and emperors, and they have their loyal followers and their money, and they've been hanging on to their royalty and nobility for the last 2,000 years and doing stuff. And I promised to tell you about levels. The next level up above just the sleeping masses and their rulers is there are two groups on this planet, Group A and Group B, and they fight for control of the planet because they're trapped here for multiple lifetimes. I mean, you know, just use my figure of 70 million years, and you need to have something to do, so the game is, let's get the other guys. So whomever is in charge will be attacked by Group B, and Group B has no money or power, so they create a middle class and allow money to flow into the middle class, and then they bankrupt the middle class to get enough cash to attack Group A. And that's what's happening now, the bankrupting of the middle class and the accumulation of wealth. Heading towards October 2023, which is when the celestial events in the solar system will cause what will look like end times. And at that moment, I think both groups will be vying for power so you can come out on top. And us peasants will be enduring end times. and perhaps the arrival of the Antichrist to save us all if we just give up our freedom and our money and everything else, our scruples. And this will be the new civilization introduced, which will last probably 1,000 years to the next large celestial climate event, which is why very often you hear people saying the 1,000-year Reich or the 1,000-year empire, because they know that after 1,000 years there's going to be a huge debacle on the planet. So that's coming up a year and a half from now. So above the two groups is another group which used to be called the gods, like the gods of Olympus, or, you know, the gods. And they are able to perceive in more than 3 dimensions. Time is a dimension, and if you think a lot about events happening on the Earth and do the timeline, you get 4th dimensional objects. And for example, the sun travels through the 4th dimension. It spins. The way we see things in the 3 dimensions, you take a slice of, imagine it's a tube, and all the planets spinning around the sun are different colored sheaths. So we have the sun, I'm going to go this way, I guess, going that direction, and a sheath of different colored planets around it. This is a tube in the 4th dimension. And to perceive that one moment, the smallest moment of perception for the sun is 1/80th of a second. And if you could take a photograph of that, you would see that the sun is this long, glowing body with sheaths of colored films around it. The way we perceive atoms with a nucleus with their spinning electrons. These are just concepts of how to deal with things that we don't quite know exactly about. And the sun moving this way is also going in other directions, circling around Sirius, which is the 5th dimensional view of the sun, which would probably be a plane or maybe even a spherical looking item. The beings who are able to live in that world are able to control us the same way a farmer is able to control his chicken and his cattle and his pigs and grow crops and magically know when winter's coming, for example. And I have it on higher authority that these people mess with us for their own entertainment, the same way someone may take a hammer and pound on an ant's nest to get the ants to come out and go crazy. These are the gods, and they have fallen out of not favor, but people don't believe in them anymore, so they're a little miffed that they're not getting their adoration. And from my research, say that the IQ of these beings is about 2,500. And above them is another group who play the game on a 8th dimensional level, and their IQ is probably 1.2 million. So what chance do we have against them? This is the point where people figure out either I want to change this because it's unfair, or I want to get out of here because it's impossible to fix. And going up another level, this scenario is a universe. And a universe is a created game. And where we are here is in a little bubble with 11 other universes. And I don't know anything about them. I've seen a diagram of this. Some of these bubbles contain 24 universes, and there are groupings of bubbles. And the bubbles have been game spaces where spiritual beings for 105 to the 33rd power in years, which is 105 with 33 zeros behind it. And we don't have a name for that except the children do. It says gazillions of years. And this game grouping is within another existence space, which again I know nothing about except that it exists outside of the 8th dimensional universe. That would be the 9th dimension, and then I guess the one above that is where the supreme beingness plays and exists, which is, according to Mara Baba, is the beyond state of God, who created all of this with just a whim. It would be a good idea. So these are facts surrounding your scenario. And on the plus side, all of these beings are powered by the same spiritual unit that you have. So you can communicate with them. You can be one of them. There's a difference in knowledge, like when the Italians went into North Africa, they had attacked by 2,000 tribesmen with spears and arrows, and they machine gunned them all down. It's just higher technology. It doesn't mean the Italians were superior beings. It just means they had superior technology. Same is true for us and them. And those above. So if you're listening to this, or if you listen to my previous group of 500 videos, you can read Mara Baba has a book called God Speaks, which is pretty well good explanation of the power structure above us. Books by Peter Ouspensky, a Russian philosopher. Actually, it's a fourth way school. He talks about these things. Up to the 8th dimension. There's a new model of the universe, In Search of the Miraculous. Rodney Collins Smith, George Gurdjieff, the fourth way school teachers. This is pathway to knowledge, and when you know what's going on, it's possible to be less upset about this. And the cure for this is to become capable with communicating to those above the gods and saying, this is not optimal, and perhaps things could be changed here. This is one of many of these games, but if you're, especially if it's true that lifetimes repeating the same lifetime for trillions of years, if you knew that, I think you'd go bonkers. Same parents, same school, same other boyfriend, girlfriends, wives, kids, dogs, all that. All that effort just simply repeats. It's a waste of beingness. However, if you are an eternal being, what are you going to do? You need something to do. So games are a good idea. And the background problem here is this is somebody else's universe. Someone else made this universe, and someone else may have actually got bored and left it. So the secret is to make your own universe, or make a better universe. Which you can do because you are the same being that powers the gods and the above the gods. You just have to get there and believe it. And an American philosopher who I won't name because I'll be ostracized again, said that my purpose here is to create a better game than the one we have. The one we have is crime, corruption, pain, death, disease, want, artificial scarcity, depression. I'm sure it would be easy to imagine a better game, which is the game that I'm involved in. It's called the New Civilization game, and a country called Utopia, which was proposed by our spiritual leader, John Lennon.